Da, 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 da. It's good to have, yes, not the music. Love this music. See, it's good to have good music. Good to have a theme, like something to, to guide you in and out. Anyway, hey, it is Saturday, and it's the 29th of January, and over here on the west coast of the United States, it's 11 o'clock. Actually, it's well past 11 o'clock already. Out on the East Coast, it's 2 p.m., and in Central Europe, I think it's like 8 o'clock at night, something, something like that. Dinner time, or thereabouts. Actually, if you were my age and you live in Central Europe, it's way past dinner time. Time to be in bed long ago. Anyway, it's time for the Virtual Pipe Club. I'm the founder, David Dorian Ross, and these are the fantastic Zoom Room guys. Say hello, Zoom Room guys. I think, yeah. I was checking to see if they were on mute or if they were just shy today. And by the way, um, I'm reading my comments over here because we are also live streaming directly to Facebook and YouTube. And somebody just says having audio and video trouble. That's not good because I thought I fixed all that stuff. If you are watching over there on Facebook or YouTube, how are we sounding? Let me know if you can hear us because I'm hoping that it's going out correctly. Anyway, today's a very special day. We don't have a guest speaker today, but we do have a pretty cool topic that I'm hoping everybody will chip in about and um, and talk about because I think I'll tell you what. Here's how it all started. What got me thinking about this? I see this pipe here. I got this in the mail yesterday, and it came in a package. And I was not expecting this. I had no idea, and it came from, of all people, my mother-in-law. And so I've always thought since she, was aware that I smoked pipes that it wasn't something that she more or less approved of. To be honest with you, she's a studio where I smoke, and then she'll kind of stand in the doorway and look around like, okay, a little stinky in here. But yesterday, I got this package from my mother-in-law with this pipe in it, with a note that said, "This pipe belonged to my father, her father." I can remember him sitting at the kitchen table and loading this up and smoking it and the smell of the pipe smoke. Isn't that sweet? It just like so, I was so, I've got no video. Well, can you hear me okay? All right. Anyway, so that I've been slow mode. I'll see if I can fix that. In the meantime, that was the inspiration for today's topic, which was um, who got you started? Who got you started smoking a pipe? Who taught you how? Maybe that's more than one person, and like let's find out your story. And so that's what we're going to do today after we do our passing the pipe ritual. And you guys over there on YouTube and Facebook, we want to hear from you too. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to my friend David, who is going to take us through um, all the people who are here today. If you might remember, throw up your electronic hands and find out what it is that we're smoking and what we're smoking it in. How about that?
Marek, I think it's on mute. He's on mute. You're on mute, Marek.
Okay, thanks for that. So again, good evening, everyone to whom is applicable already. I'm smoking McBaran Navy Flake in a Polish-made pipe by Pawlak. He's an artist living in Central Poland. It's nicely sandblasted pipe. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, yeah, beautifully. And the second pipe, I'll be smoking a GBD pipe, partially rusticated or sandblasted. I don't know if you see that. And inside is Peter Stockerby luxury Navy Flake. Thank you. And I'm passing the pipe to, let's see, Fadi Hawa, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to see you again tonight. It is 9 p.m. in Beirut. I'm smoking in my new Bing's favorite Savinelli, special edition Arlecchino. We've talked with David about it. And in it, I'm smoking Peterson Royal Yacht, which was before Dunhill. And afterwards, I think I will smoke bluegrass from Cornell and Deal. Bluegrass, it's a vapor in my Sean Ream pipe. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Talk with the exchange with Fadi about this pipe. I found that we share a connection through theater that was really terrific.
Pleased with this conversation, and I congratulate you for your culture. You really amazed me with this. David, I will pass the virtual pipe to my dear friend Ramachandran.
Thank you, Fadi. Greetings to all. It's going to be 1 a.m. here in the morning, Sunday morning here in India. Very cold. And today I am smoking my Rediche Rhine bent billiard. In it, I'm smoking one of my favorite HH Old Dark Fight, McBaren's HH Old Dark Fight. And if I'm able to put it through, my second pipe for the day would be Sheckham's Oscar by Tom Alton, in which I would be smoking the quintessential English Aston's Artisan Blend, which has got Syrian Latakia. So with this, I now pass it on to my friend Tim Heineck.
Thank you, Ramachandran. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody here today. So up here in Massachusetts, we're in the middle of a gigantic blizzard. Now to show you what it looks like, I could try to point my camera outside, but let me just do this. Let me just hold up this piece of paper here. That's pretty much what it looks like. That's pretty much the extent of it. Nice to see some of my friends from the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club here, Tom and Sean. Happy to see you guys here today. I am smoking. This is an HMS, nice, kind of a, I don't know, is that a Dublin Billiard? I received in a trade with my friend David Martinez, HMS, very nice bamboo pipe. And David, I happen to be smoking Old Dominion as well. So we're smoking the same thing today. And after that, I think I'm going to go on to my Peterson Barley Spigot, which I purchased from Mike Rizzo. And in that, I think I'm going to do some early morning pipes. So nice to be here today. I hope everybody who's dealing with the blizzard is going to be fine with it today. And let's pass the virtual pipe over to Tom Nizio.
Greetings. You know, the one I'm stuck in the same blizzard that Tim is. And I guess the good thing about it is if not for the blizzard, I'd be at work today and not be able to join you all. So today I am starting out with a Castello Sea Rock with pie, smoking some Samuel Gawith Scottish cut mixture that was made special for Chicago Pipe Show 2009. That was a gift from one of our club members. And I'll probably follow that up with this really lovely strawberry wood bent pipe from Ian Fisher. That was a gift, a holiday gift from one of our club members who wished to remain anonymous, Tim. And I might follow that up with this fairly large otter that was, believe it or not, also a gift from a different member of the Pipe Club. So we've got a great group of folks up here in Boston for sure. And with that, I'd like to turn it over. I think I saw Sean over there.
Yeah, I'm here, Tom.
All right, I'll pass it along to you.
All right, well, we get the trifecta here for the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club. So today, I'm smoking a Morgan Bones, which is coloring up really nice, with some GLP's Tribute from 2001 that was gifted to me from Ernie from Watch City. Little on the dry side. I think it'll do a little bit better with some hydration, but it's smoking really nice. After that, I'm going to follow it up with a McCraney's house pipe that I picked up on my trip down south to Georgia. And in it will be some Peretti 333. Really nice burley, really enjoying that. And with that, let's see who hands are still up. Kent, the wheeled piper. How we doing today, sir?
Doing very good. Good to see everyone from around the world. And pushing buttons. Okay, I am overjoyed to show off my Aristocob. I've been sort of looking for them and found one on eBay for about half the cost of the average. So been smoking it. It's very good. I found one source who makes briar inserts for these. If you guys know of sources for who make the briar inserts to replace the cob, that way I have a choice. My choice of tobacco today is a Burleigh Black that I mixed up with half spicy vanilla from Sutliff and the other half Burley Light without a bite from Lane. I'm sort of on a shiny theme today, and the shininess will continue with Oscar Lucite 606 from Savinelli, given to me by my son. It was unfinished first. I smoked it a lot and put a little wax on it, and we'll see how the color changes over the years. And that'll be the next pipe I load up with that tobacco. After that, a Royalton from Dr. Graybo with another beautiful lucite stem. And if there's time, which I doubt, Here's a from Switzerland, a no-name pipe with a nice lucite stem and a cap, wind cap, rusticated. All of them great smokers.
Ken,
Equally.
you've got some great selections today, man.
Yeah, well, too many.
Those are all sweet, and I love the bird's eye behind you.
Yes, and that bird's eye is from this Royalton. So I think it. I could just stare at bird's eye, see worlds, galaxies, and atoms and molecules, and just get lost in poetry. But we don't have time for that. Let's see. We'll pass the pipe proudly to David Klein. It's all yours.
Have to get unmuted there. Thank you, and good to see everybody again. And sorry about the cold weather all over the northern states. It's cold here too, but there's no blizzard going on. So feel sorry for you guys. In a couple of months, you can feel sorry for me because it's going to be steaming hot and humid and very uncomfortable here. But anyway, I'm today smoking one of my Kirsten pipes, and in it I have some of the Cornell and Deal Da Vinci, which is very good, heavy Latakia. And I think after that, I'm going to switch to the Savinelli, which is I think it's a 207 shape. And I haven't decided yet, but I may go with Escudo, or I might do the H&H Old Dark Fired. Haven't decided on that yet, but I'll figure it out. Don't worry. So anyway, it's good to be here. Good to see everybody. And I'll pass the pipe over to my friend Alvin Miller.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. I had some kind of strange vibe from Tim Heineck that I should smoke Petersons today, so that's what I'm doing. I am having some Edward G. Robinson pipe blend in my Peterson 312, and it's kind of my war pipe because I dropped it. It's one of the first pipes I ever bought, and I dropped it, and it caught the corner of my bar and actually put a dent in the side of the silver stem. So I would just say these are pretty well made because that's all it did. So I'm not going to get it fixed. It's kind of has some history to it now. And then if I end up needing to go to a second bowl, I'm just going to go with my 606 Peterson, and I've got some Father Dempsey in that. So I actually have some Danny Kaye and Cary Grant Kramers on the way. I thought I was going to be smoking that, but it won't make it till after the meeting this evening. So I just went with the Edward G. And let's see. Let's send it on to. See here. Steve, have you gone yet? Steve Huffman.
No, I haven't yet. Hey,
okay,
welcome.
Steve, there you go.
Thanks for having me on here. It's my first time attending.
Hey, I recognize you, so I wanted to say hello.
Yes, Springfield, Missouri is calling in.
Welcome.
So
all right, welcome.
Yeah, I'm smoking my newest acquisition. It's a Savinelli Bing's Favorite Smooth. I really like it as far as, and then I'm just going with some standard old Captain Black original. So after that, I may go use. I got a Tom Howard. Don't know when it was made or anything like that. But I'll probably just put some good old Peterson 965 in that. So, and then I'm not sure how to pass it off the pipe on raised hands or anything. I can't see that. So I will just leave it up for who wants. Oh, here we go. Darkon, I believe you're up.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to the club. Today, I'm going to be smoking one of my other Bones pipes, which I really love. I never would have heard about it if it wasn't for this club. And in it, I'm smoking another one like that. This M4, Pure Virginia. I hear you guys talk a lot about that. I finally smoked it and I loved it. And after that, I'm gonna smoke my 7LE 320 rusticated Dolomiti. And then that, I'm gonna smoke some Haunted Bookshop. And let's see here.
That's a nice pipe, very nice pipe.
Thank you. Let's pass the pipe to Glenn.
Hi, gang. Welcome to everybody, especially the new people. I'm smoking today it's a Nording number 14, I believe it is, bent. I like this little boat tail on the back end of this one. I love this particular shape. And in it, I'm smoking something very weird today. I had never even heard of this, but I found a tin in my cellar. It's a McClellan's blend made for the Pipe Club of America called Harry Larry. And it was, this was made in 1997, 23 years ago. And it's Syrian and Cyprian Latakia blended together and what do they call it, stoved, and then a little sprinkle of Virginia added to it. So the several reviewers I've seen said this is a very dark, very rich, very smoky blend, and I concur. It's wonderful. So on to my buddy Bud out in California. No snowstorms out there.
No.
Glenn, that's a beautiful pipe there, and just listening to your description of the Harry Larry, like A, that's a interesting name, but B, it sounds delicious.
Several of the reviewers said, you know, they can't imagine having both kinds of Latakia blended together and then stoved, and then, you know, with a little bit of Virginia hanging in the background. And I love Latakia, so it's right up my alley.
I'm smoking a 7LA 673 Roma loose pipe, which is John Harden's latest Friday 7LA. And in it, I'm smoking some Burley Morning Flake or Burley Morning Pipe from Ken Byron. And later on, I have a couple of Bones pipes that one of them I'm going to be smoking some of the Newminster 400 Superior Flake, which is dark on another Virginia. You might want to give a try when you get a chance. And I will pass the pipe on to Chris Plumridge.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's keeping it warm. We don't have the snow here in central New York, but we got the cold that Tim's getting too. So, so today, smoking a Wolf's Head Meerschaum Christmas gift for my wife. A little bit smaller bowl, but I won't be here for the whole meeting today, so more than a little bit of a smaller bowl today. But smoking some Parsons blend from the Country Squire. Again, I think JD is the master blender there. Get some great blends. So I will pass the pipe off to Thomas Bowes.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Welcome. Good to be back. I haven't been in the club for about 5 or 6 weeks. I am smoking today. I finally splurged on a Savinelli autograph, and this is a I think 106. And I didn't check the dimensions before ordering, and I was shocked by quite how tiny this pipe is. It's really out of proportion with my head, which is about the size of an overripe pumpkin. And but it smokes really well. I smoked it for the first time a couple of days ago, and I'm going to be continuing to break it in. And I'm smoking today in this some White Knight, one of Russ Roulette's blends, I believe. Yes, that's right. Thank you. So let me pass on to Patrick.
Evening all. I'm smoking a hand-carved meerschaum that I got from Turkey, which is in representation of a hawk-bill shape. In it, I'm smoking Cornell and Deal's Bijou. If time permits, I will smoke the club meerschaum, and in that, I'll be smoking Savinelli's Janus Antique Virginia, which is a Virginia Perique. All right, and pass the pipe on to Dimitri if he's around.
He's not, I believe, but we have a couple people like haven't spoke. I see John Plunkett or Ian from England, if I'm not
Okay,
mistaken.
All right, so I'll pass the pipe on to Ian from England.
Or Steve.
Watto from London, yeah. I'm smoking the Club Meerschaum. You're seeing it's already going brown, my one. Not bad, eh? I reckon I can get that really dark in a while. And in it, I've got some Dunhill Flake. That's a good pipe and no mistake. I'll pass it on to Mr. Plumridge, did you say?
Nope, already gone.
Hey guys, I'll jump in real quick. I didn't have my hand raised, but I was wanting to make sure some other folks maybe got a chance to speak up today. Smoking the 2021 club pipe today with some McBaron Latakia roll cake. Love the flavor profile on that stuff, but I've had difficulty with keeping it lit, controlling the temperature, just kind of generally the way it behaves. So I've been letting it condition for a while in a jar, and I had trying some today. So far, so good. But if anyone's got any tips on how to smoke this stuff, let me know. Because I do love the flavor.
Don't rub it out.
Okay, well, that's something I've been doing. So I will take your suggestion and try that. Folks, I don't know who else, if there's any hands left, I'll leave that to someone else to determine.
What'd you say you were smoking?
McBaron Latakia roll cake.
Oh, yeah.
What about John from North Carolina?
I'll jump in. I'm smoking Sutliff Old Professor, which should surprise no one since I smoke it almost every week. And I've got it in one of my older Petersons right now. I'll swap this out. I'll probably go on to last year's club pipe. And I'll probably continue with the same tobacco. So same old here in northeastern North Carolina, where we're on the tail end of that blizzard, by the way, that you guys up north are getting. We only got a light dusting of it. But here in this part of North Carolina, that counts as blizzard. So we'll take what we can get.
I think we have Paolo Fassetti. It's not. I think.
Is there anybody else that hasn't gone?
Well, then I'll jump in. How about that? Also, I just asked the group who are watching on the live stream. I'm going to ask the Zoom room crew here as well. I've just turned on my microphone on this side. Let me know if you start to hear an echo at all, because now we have two mics on. In keeping with all the conversation we were having before the meeting started, I'm smoking one of my Chris Kelly bone crawler, which is one of my favorite pipes here, and it's got a little bit bigger capacity. This one has a fairly large bowl, so I'm going to get plenty of enjoyment out of that today. And I don't think I'm going to switch to another pipe. I'm just going to keep on going with this one. And in it, I have some Old Dark Fire. Who else was smoking some Old Dark Fire? Glenn, was that you smoking Old Dark Fire?
No, I'm smoking some of that right now. Stuck with my Kirsten, but I put the
Oh,
Old
yeah,
Dark Fire.
David, that's right.
Yeah, so am I. I'm also smoking ready rubbed version, not the flake
I guess I read the memo. So it's good stuff today. I've been watching some of the contributions over there on Facebook and YouTube, and people are smoking some pretty nifty stuff today. Let me just share what you guys have put up here. Texas Piper said, just finished a bowl of C&D Burley Flake number 2 in a moonshine smokestack. Doesn't that sound good? Richard Otto is smoking some Capstan Blue. That's our second Capstan, I think, today, too, in Rattray's Braveheart. Tobacco Pipes International is smoking his K Woody pot with some Camoys Cask number 4. I've never tried that. Philadelphia Piper smoking some Black Cat Chelsea in his Stanwell Dublin black and white. That sounds pretty fancy. No echo, they're saying, but they hear some static. Well, I'm still working on improving our audio, so we'll see if I can get that better next week. I think the static might be coming from the fact that I've got 47 different peripherals plugged into the computer today to make this show work. So that might have something to do with it. Anybody else? David, did we have some new folks pop in just now? Well, that's all right. Maybe we'll get... There he is. There we go. Sorry about that. Michael, maybe we'll go with you. When we get started, I'd love to hear how you came to possess that pipe and the whole story. I'll save the question, but you know what's coming up. I think you saw the post today and brought that on purpose, because that's a fantastic pipe. So having said that, I think we'll just go ahead and jump into this conversation. The thought that I had was one of the things that we ask our guest speakers all the time, almost everyone, is how did you get started? Right? How did you get started? And oftentimes it's a story about a person in their lives who they met who smoked a pipe. And sometimes they would give them a pipe to get started with, or just talk to them, or take them down to the local brick and mortar and get them going. And that's always such a great story. I always find that fascinating. So I thought, well, let's talk about how we got started smoking a pipe. And I'd love to find out, because I'm just a nosy, you know what, like not just what their name was and who got started, but what were they like? Like, obviously, it takes a special kind of person to inspire you to pick up any kind of new hobby. So they must have been special to you, and I'd like to find out about that. So, Mike, you wanna give a stab at telling us about your grandpa's tomahawk, and that he's the one who get you started?
Early 70s, when I was an early teen, my parents went through a divorce, and a safe place for me to go was up at my grandparents' house. My granddad had an office above the attic, and he would work on the commodity markets and the stocks he was playing with at the time. It was all pre-computers, and he always had a pipe lit, and it was kind of my safe place to go. And he had already cured me of ever wanting to smoke a cigar by making me inhale one of his big illegal Havanas. But he let me smoke one of his pipes, and as we all grew older, he died in his mid 90s, and I inherited 10, 15 of his pipes, and they're all near and dear. I smoke them rarely because I want to, save them for future generations, hopefully. But for today's occasion, I pulled out one of my favorites, which is an old Tomahawk. It's not branded; it just says imported briar on it. But I can remember him smoking this pipe 1973, 74, 75, somewhere in there. So that's how I got started, and that's one of the original pipes.
What did he smoke? Do you know?
He always had an aromatic. I don't know what. I remember Captain Black being up there. I remember Half and Half being up there. He was not a mixer. As the story goes, my granddad always thought he was a cheap guy because he said all you needed was a $10 pipe. But then I realized $10 in 1940 or 50 or $70 is about appropriate today, a couple $100 pipe. But he always, I mostly remember Half and Half in there.
Nice. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Did you, once you inherited those pipes, did you have them cleaned up, or are they all in the same condition that when you got them?
They're in the condition that I got them in, and I've been following our feed, and there's some companies out there that they're going to get some business from me getting them cleaned up, getting a couple of them re-stemmed.
That's awesome. If you could tell one story about your granddad to give us kind of a sense of who he was, what would you share?
Okay. My granddad was an interesting character. He was in his late teens, early 20s during Prohibition. We're from Detroit originally and Jewish, and he was part of the Purple Gang in Detroit. So all 5'5" of him, 140 pounds, was one tough SOB. The Purple Gang was famous for when Capone tried to move into Detroit, that they said you could find out where the mafia was by following the bodies back to Chicago. He then took over his father's company and built it into the largest tool and die in the United States by the 1960s. So he's a very successful guy. And then they sold out to Ford, and he retired and smoked pipes.
That's a great story. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Hey, Tim Heineck, I'd love to ask you that question. How did you get started? Who started you on your journey?
Well, I had a next door neighbor, and his name was Herman, and he had the house like right next to us with a fence running down the middle. And I'd be out in my backyard, and he'd be out in his backyard. And whatever he was doing out there, whether he was walking, from the house to the garage or mowing the lawn, he always had a pipe in his mouth, like constantly. And I remember one day asking him about it, and he said, well, he kind of showed me the pipe, and he showed me what he smoked. I think it was Prince Albert for the most part. But I just kind of was always fascinated with it. And then one day I was up in my attic. I was probably about maybe 12 or so, or 14, something like that. And I found a yellow bowl pipe somewhere, completely unsmoked. And I went and got my friend, because we were enjoying, doing things like smoking cigarettes and stuff back then. And we went up to the local, convenience store and bought some Apple tobacco and tried to get the pipe going in the alley, because we were trying to hide from everybody, and it was probably about a 30-mile-an-hour wind that day. So we never did quite get it going. But eventually at another Yeah, we didn't have GLPs back then. We didn't have the stuff we have now. So anyway, so from there, you know, my friends and I just like, we all kind of enjoyed smoking the pipe. We were all kind of experimenting. And back then you pretty much had the drugstore blends, and then, you know, Borkum Riff came along. And at that time, you know, we thought we found God, I guess. But looking back on it, that certainly wasn't all that true. So from there, it was pretty much, you know, experimenting with those kind of, you know, drugstore tobaccos, and I smoked pipes all the way, you know, through most of high school and then most of college. So there wasn't really any one person who taught me. Like the Herman didn't really teach me, but I was just very much influenced by it. I've just always had a fascination with pipes, and you know, they've been a part of my life for a really long time. So that's kind of my story, and I've gone through the same thing that everyone else has gone through, you know, smoking the terrible aromatics and buying the not so great pipes. But eventually, you know, when I moved to Boston and, you know, being around Peretti's, you know, and buying my first high grade, you know, a Radici rind, you know, really turned things around when I started to, you know, be around Peretti's and other, you know, joined the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club. It really kind of made a huge difference for me. So that's
going to ask you, knowing your membership in the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club and how many Petersons that you collect, when you smoke, do you? Now this is intimate here. Do you imagine yourself as Sherlock Holmes, and is that an image that comes to mind when you're smoking?
Well, maybe a little bit. I mean, but you guys all know I'm a big Peterson fan. It just kind of conjures up, you know, thoughts of, you know, Ireland, and, you know, when you look back in the Peterson book, you see all these old vintage pictures of people smoking Peterson pipes. It just conjures up those kind of images of, you know, everything in Ireland, you know. And I like to think that when I imagine Ireland, Dublin, I imagine every other person smoking a Peterson pipe. And I don't know if that's exactly true, but that's kind of what I imagine. But I wasn't always, I mean, I wasn't always a super, you know, Peterson enthusiast. There was a lot of other pipes before that. It's really only been the last maybe 10 or 15 years that it became one of my favorites. And I've had a few before, and, you know, I thought they were pretty good. But then I remember I was at the New York Pipe Show, and I happened to buy just this Peterson Standard, and the thing just smoked incredibly well. And I thought, gee, this is really a great pipe. And then I started buying another one. And I just started really being intrigued by you know, the whole storied history of them. So my pipe journey has been a lot of different things. You know, I've been into a number of different pipes, and, you know, really tried to pursue the hobby to its fullest. But the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club was really a place where it really took. I mean, it really, between Peretti's and the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club, it really took off, because you met guys who just knew everything about pipes and had tried so many brands and so many different tobaccos. I mean, walk in there one night and you could walk away, you know, knowing a whole lot more than you did. So I've had the pleasure of being around some great guys in this hobby.
Was Steve running the shop when you started going to Peretti's?
So, sorry, what was that again?
Was Steve running the shop when you started going to Peretti's?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was there he's been in that shop for a very long time. He is actually, I believe he's a professor of English literature. And I think we heard some of his background when he's here, but he was in that shop right from the beginning, the day I walked in. Absolutely. Thank you for calling on me.
Do you want to maybe pick somebody else to tell their story?
Yeah, I think I'd like to hear from Ramachandran. I'd like to hear how you got into our wonderful hobby.
Thank you, Tim. Well, as all of you know, I'm an Indian. And in my family, I mean, smoking is something which is frowned upon. So that way, I happen to be the first generation smoker in my family. And the list of heirlooms, I never got anything remotely connected to pipe or anything to do with smoking. But it will be amusing for all of you to know that the inspiration that I got to get into smoking was from Winston Churchill. I have a fascination for everything historical. So whenever I used to watch those videos of the World War and the English history, when I saw Churchill smoking with a cigar, I started with a cigar. But in India, cigar and pipes are very difficult to come by. Maybe about 15 years ago, it was very difficult prior to the. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, that was
Hello.
my bad.
Yes.
I was just trying to put some other folks on mute there, and I accidentally hit yours. So keep going.
Okay. So I started on with cigars, but couldn't sustain it due to it's not being very regularly available and the expensive thing it being. So it came to my mind, why not start on pipes as well? So I saw a shop somewhere nearby my office. Went there, picked up few unnamed pipes. They were not branded ones. And the very first pipe tobacco which I smoked was Captain Black, which is being an aromatic. But as it always happens, most of the beginners start with an aromatic and they find it to be very tasty initially. So I started off with Captain Black, started smoking, started liking it initially. Then for a few years, I couldn't pull through with me. But then, one day I started watching Mutton Chop Piper in the YouTube. Then I thought I should again pick it up. Then, to a very large extent, Mutton Chop Piper has been my inspiration as far as piping is concerned. And much of it, all that I've learned about the nuances of the tobaccos and the pipe smoking, everything, I would say Mutton Chop Piper has been my tutor. So much of it is all from Mutton Chop Piper. And then, of course, with the onset of this online stores, I was able to buy it more easily, regularly. I built up a big pipe collection of almost about 100 pipes and 100 plus tobacco blends, all non aromatics. And after this Corona started, these online clubs and all these things. So that's how I'm now where I am today. So that's been my short journey, starting from cigars. Of course, I smoke cigars also now, but now I enjoy pipe more than a cigar. So that's been my short story.
So since you like history and historical figures, um, moving on from Winston Churchill and cigars, who do you um, who have you followed in a way or studied that was a pipe smoker?
Not really any one specific well-known pipe smoker. I simply like that idea and that style and all those things that comes with smoking a pipe. And I thought that's much more refined with all the rituals. So when I started watching Mutton Chop Piper, I thought this is a better option than a cigar. Cigar once smoken, it's over. You have to go in for another one. But pipes, you can have it, feel it, cherish it, look at it, and you can try different tobaccos in the same pipe with different taste and blends. So I started liking that. So right now, pipe smoking is more of my passion.
Machandran
Thank you.
for
Thank you,
sharing.
Lydia.
Before I go back to you to maybe pick another person that you'd like to find out about, I want to share a story that just came in from the guys who are watching over there on the live stream. Texas Piper shared this story about his father. He said that he started in college, and he says, my dad, when he passed, left me his pipes. My pop was an old World War II Army Air Corps officer, very disciplined and very strict. But he says my father would smoke a pipe, and Texas Piper said he loved going into the brick and mortar stores with him, smelling the aromatic blends. Cherry and vanilla were his favorite. They're good to smell. They're good to room note, but you know. He says I remember him sitting on the patio, late summer evening, and so he came to learn that his dad smoked a lot of half and half. Doesn't smoke much anymore, but still has a few pipes laying around. Hope to share a bowl with him someday. Anyway, Texas Piper, thank you for sharing that story. Oh, here's the last best part of it. This is I am the man I am today because of my dad. He was an amazing and courageous human being. That's awesome. That's what we get from the pipe smokers in our history, is character. So Ramachandran, who would you like to know their story?
Okay, yeah. How about Bud from San Diego?
Thanks, Ramachandran. Yeah, for me, I didn't really. My dad didn't smoke a pipe, and he was a cigarette smoker. And we eventually caught up to him and left him with cancer in his 50s. And once he stopped smoking after a lung procedure and all this kind of stuff, then he smoked a pipe briefly. But at that point, I had moved away. I wasn't really living at home anymore. And so I happened to come across of all things, a Dagner video, and they were all smoking pipes. And that hit me at a time in my life where I was thinking about, I've kind of lived this, I'm 60 years old. I've kind of lived a fairly clean lifestyle and everything else. And like, how many years do I have left? Let's enjoy them doing something that maybe is a little risky. And the pipe just happened to be the thing that popped into my mind. And so I started that. And then, of course, after that, I started looking more into the history. And then I ran across a picture of my Uncle Roy and with a pipe. And as soon as I saw that picture, all these memories came flooding back to me of when I was a kid going hunting with him in Arkansas. And, he'd be smoking a pipe the whole time and, things like that. And then I went and found the picture that I have up here, which is the guy right here. You can't see, right in the front with the gun. That is my grandfather. That's Bud Sr. And these are all his brother-in-laws for the most part, guys that he knew and worked with. And you can see there's a few pipes in their mouths and the banjo player and all that kind of stuff. So those guys were kind of put it all in my mind too, that there actually is a tradition and a history, of pipe smokers and smokers in general, back in the day when everybody pretty much smoked. And one of the things I did run across is we were cleaning out my stepfather-in-law's garage. He'd passed away, and we were cleaning out my mother-in-law's house because she couldn't live by herself anymore. We're out in the garage, and he's got an area up above, and my son's just going through boxes and chucking them down right into a trash can, basically, because, it wasn't anything we were going to keep. And one box missed, broke apart, and 2 medicos and a Kamoy pipe fell out of the box onto the floor. And so I have no idea who in his family smoked, a pipe or anything else, because none of those people are around anymore. But those are pipes that now, of course, are in my collection and that kind of thing. But just different things. I've, tried to talk to my cousins and stuff about, do you have your dad's pipes and all that kind of thing? And pretty much everything's disappeared, for the most part. But my son
I've given him a few pipes and he smokes a pipe occasionally. So hopefully when I'm gone, he'll continue and we'll see how far it goes from there. But that's kind of got me going. And I kind of had the same thing. I went online and, Mutton Chop and Mr. Kerslake and Matches, of course, you know what I mean? All those guys kind of help you learn about pipe smoking and the culture of pipe smoking and that kind of thing. And then the day I walked into the San Diego Pipe Club, you know what I mean? I've been there ever since. And there's so much you can get from a pipe club and being around guys that smoke and learning about pipes and tobacco and how to take care of things and so forth. And which is one of the nice things about a virtual pipe club for those guys who don't live, in an area where they have accessibility to, that kind of thing. So I appreciate the fact that what you're doing, David, goes a lot to promote or keep healthy the hobby.
But how much have you taught your son about pipe smoking?
We get together, he doesn't live at home either. So we get together occasionally and we'll talk about, we'll have a share of pipe when we do. And so that will, we'll talk about how to pack it and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have tobaccos that I'll give him to try and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a little bit of learning there.
You got to show him this picture if you haven't already, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, super. But I'm going to ask you to pass it on. But before I do that, I wanted to once again share some really great stories that are coming in from our audience, our remote club members, so to speak. Reds 208676 said, no smokers in my immediate family, except for stories of my great grandmother coming from Ireland and smoking a clay pipe. And but his greatest influence was Sherlock Holmes. So I think there might be a few of us who also had an inspiration from Sherlock Holmes. Which really means, for a lot of us, Basil Rathbone, like how Basil Rathbone smoked a pipe and made that happen. So, Bud, who do you want to hear from?
I want to hear from a kind of a new guy, Darkon. I'd like to hear how he got into it and what things he's found out about his pipe smoking legacy, as it were.
I appreciate that, Bud. By the way, that picture is priceless. That's pure legend right there, that picture behind you. Me, it's kind of a funny thing. I was watching a video from Old Carolina Pipe Cottage, and he said something that really resonated with me. He talked about pipe smokers being pipe smokers before they ever picked up the pipe. And I think that pretty much describes how I got into the pipe, because, well, I always had a thing for, like, I guess you could say functioning art, like functional art. I was always very sentimental, like you said, with the cigar. Once you smoke it, it's gone. But I always like something I could hold on to, look at, sit, and like admire. And that's pretty much how I got into pipe. So I started smoking cigarettes at a young age, but I always felt like a dirtbag, so I threw it away fast. And I wanted to be able to enjoy pipe, or I wanted to be able to enjoy tobacco on a deeper level. Like, I wanted to appreciate it better, something that I guess had more like craft into it. So it's a short story. I've only been smoking for 2 years. I'm 32 years old. I never really knew anybody that smoked a pipe outside of like the internet. And like Ramachandra, I got into Mutton Shop Piper, and he pretty much guided me through like the learning curve, and been smoking ever since.
Anyone since you started smoking a pipe that now you can relate to and talk about pipe smoking?
Not really my age, but since I moved here to Little Rock, Arkansas, I moved here from Chicago, and there's a pipe shop, a local pipe shop that I go to, the guys that work there, they've been really helpful. I've been talking to them about blends and pipes. I've been learning a lot from them, as well as a lot from you guys. But
Dark,
I've
can you
always been in, sorry, I've always been into like craft coffee, craft beers and stuff like that. And I figured like, why not take a deeper dive in the tobacco the same way? But go ahead, Tim, what were you saying?
I was just, you're talking about how you kind of learned from Mutton Shaw Piper, and I think we all kind of had experiences learning from one way or another. But you mentioned that you tried that the Amphora Virginia blend, and that's actually where I learned about. I learned about that on here, and it was probably through Miguel and others who were smoking that. And, you know, that might have been a blend that I might see that in a store and maybe just not pay that much attention to it, or maybe just, you know, pass it by because it's not in a can or something. And I decide, okay, I'm hearing all these guys smoking it, liking it. So, you know, these guys really got to know what they're talking about. And I remember, okay, I'll give it a try, and that stuff is really good. So I'm glad you found it. I'm glad I found it. It's a good tobacco.
It's great. I learned, I picked up a lot of great stuff just watching this club before I even joined the Zoom meeting. Like I was hearing a lot, Dimitri was saying, like I've never picked up a cigar before. But Dimitri, he mentioned like Toscanos. I smoked one of those. It was fantastic. The Rocky Patels were fantastic. And now with, I started getting into whiskey. And I was looking at a lot of the stuff that Miguel was posting on Facebook. There you go. And I picked up a bottle called Monkey Shoulder. I started drinking that, put a little water in, it's fantastic. So I'll take a pipe smoker's advice on anything, any day.
That's another rabbit hole to go down to is whiskey. It's another one to go down to.
I can't afford any more hobbies. Thank you. You're doing a beautiful thing, beautiful job, BDR. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. You know, I think it's a combination of the group. You know, it's no surprise that this is like the best pipe club of the year. The award that you guys got, I was really happy to hear that.
Find out their story.
Actually, I would like to hear about Glenn. That guy's always got some of the most awesome older tobaccos and pipes. I want to hear about what Glenn, how he got started.
Thank you very much. Well, the story starts 57 years ago when I was headed for college, and I was a non-smoker. I'd never smoked cigarettes, no chew, no nothing. And I thought I'm going to be a real geek when I get there to the university. So I was talking to my dad about it, and he said, well, you know, I've got your grandfather's pipe that I got when I went to college. And he unfortunately got hooked on cigarettes. So he put the pipe in his college box of souvenirs, and he gave it to me. And this is it right here, my grandfather's pipe. So I took it to college and been smoking on and off for every year since. I still have it. I still smoke it.
I was going to ask you, do you still smoke it, and how often?
Yes, it's in my standard rotation. If my eye falls on a billiard, this is one of the 3 or 4 that I would smoke.
How does it smoke? Is it a good smoker?
It's fine. I cleaned it up really well, reamed it, took the finish off completely down to bare wood, and just oiled it with olive oil. And that's the way I smoke it, and it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, who would you like to find out?
Spanish olive oil, right?
Yes. So let's see. I don't see any hands up. So let's see. Miguel, have you gone yet?
Hi, Glenn. Thanks very much. Yeah, no, I actually posted this multiple times basically on our Facebook page, and I tell the story. But if you don't mind, Glenn, what I'm going to do is I need to hear from John from North Carolina, if you don't mind. I just want to hear what John will say about this. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Miguel. Can't say I came from a pipe smoking family, but back up a little bit. My family's originally from Lynchburg, Virginia. And we moved all over the state with my dad to work. We eventually ended up in Richmond, Virginia, tobacco place and all that other stuff. But we used to go back to Lynchburg to see my grandparents regularly. And when we would go there, we would stay with my mother's aunt, Margaret Borre, and her husband, Jim, was a pipe smoker. And they lived in this kind of nifty, big old house over in the Rivermont section of Lynchburg. It was a really neat house because it was so old. It had a coal-fired furnace, for example. When we first started going there, it didn't have an automatic stoker. So in the wintertime, my dad would go down to the coal cellar in the morning and shovel coal into this big coal furnace and throw paper in it and get it lit and get it going. And it was a nifty place, lion-footed bathtubs and all that other junk. But anyway, that's where I first bumped into pipe smoking with Uncle Jim. So fast forward a little bit to where mid-60s, 1966, 67, and I'm off at college, and I'm an English literature major. And I have this vision of being an English professor at some point in time. I did later go on to teach in college and university, but not literature. So I thought, well, a literature professor should probably be a pipe smoker. That's something that just kind of appeals to me. And then as I studied American literature, one of my areas of specialty, I came across Mark Twain, who smoked pipes a lot. And so that's when I first picked up pipe smoking. And I smoked some awful pipes. I think my first pipes were I know I had some cobs. I had a pipe that we've all talked about with derision over the years, the pipe, which was this synthetic thing with some type of carbon liner supposed to temper down tobaccos. My recollection of it is that it smoked a lot like a blowtorch. And if I'd stayed with that, I probably would never have stopped, never continued smoking pipes. But anyway, that's where I first picked it up back in the 60s and 70s. And then I kind of smoked pipes off and on. I always had pipes with me. I always had tobacco where I lived. But I've been known to go for years without smoking. But as I've gotten older, and especially once I retired, smoking pipes just became a thing that appeals to me because it's kind of a meditative activity. It's a quiet activity. It's an activity that has a certain level of craftiness to it. For example, I'm a baker. I bake bread and things like that, which again are crafts where you make something. So that really is what has appealed to me. I'm not I don't cellar tobacco up forever and a day. I've got a collection here behind me on the wall. I've got a pretty respectable collection of pipes. I counted them up not long ago, and I guess all in there's about 40 some. I'm at a point now where I'm starting to cull some of them out because I have some that I don't ever smoke. And so I'm going to be getting rid of them. There was a period of time when I got into meerschaums, and I have some giant meerschaums. I mean, they're almost the size of coffee cups, to tell you the truth. But they're very unwieldy. I have smoked them, of course. And as I recall, they smoked well because they're so large, they smoke cool. But since I don't smoke them, I'm going to be I'll either sell them or give them away. But that's kind of been my pipe smoking journey. Again, I don't chase artisanal tobaccos. I do occasionally get some because we discuss them here and I go, that sounds pretty good. I should try that. And so I'll go get a tin of it or get a couple of ounces and smoke it. But I generally come back to just the type of things that I've smoked for years now. Sutliff Old Professor, English tobaccos, occasionally some aromatics, but not any in a real pronounced way. So that's sort of been my journey. That's kind of where it is and kind of where it'll go. None of my kids smoke. tobaccos of any kind. I don't know about other things that they might indulge in. They do live in Virginia, where weed is now legal, so I'm not sure whether they actually indulge in that. So I don't know what will happen to my pipes when I'm gone. They'll probably get sold or disposed of, which that'd be okay too. That's just been a nice part of the journey. So in a nutshell, that's it.
Thank you, John.
Well, we don't actually have any hands that I've asked people to put up. So I've just been saying, John, whose story
We have
would you like to hear?
we have Patty and Kate.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
that's why you're here, David. Let's bring Fuddy in.
I've got
Yeah.
I've got an interesting story if you all want to hear it. My grandmother came over from Poland when she was a little girl, lived in New York City, grew up in New York City. And when her husband died in the 40s, she took a job as a bartender in New York. One of her customers used to be was a rep for K. Woody, SM Frank, and would bring in pipes to give to customers, just hand them out. Well, when she came and moved up to Rhode Island to live with us in 1961, she brought some of the pipes with her that she didn't manage to give away. And I used to play with them when I was a kid. She ended up giving away a couple to old guys at the senior center, and one pipe was still left. And I was still sort of fascinated with it. I was fascinated seeing the tobacco they used to have at grocery stores, and that's what my first pipe was, and that's how I got started. And this was back in the 70s, and I actually still have that pipe. It's it has to have been made in the 50s. So when folks ask me how old I was when I got my first pipe, I tell them I was about 3 years old. Then when I got to law school, I smoked, and that's when I started getting into it more. We had some really good tobacconists in Columbia, South Carolina, and they turned me on to things like Copes Escudo and the original Balkan Sobrani and the Dunhill tobaccos. And that's, nobody in the family smoked. So it was just sort of, and it was certainly pre-internet days. So I learned from people who just had a lot more experience than I did.
So how about those professors then? Was there one that you went to a seminar with? And
yeah, I worked for a professor by the name of Charlie Randall, who was actually from the Boston area. And I don't think I ever saw him without a pipe in his mouth. He had Freeman home, which back in those days, the Danish freehands were a big deal. And he had a Sheridan and smoked the same stuff all the time, smoked regular amphora. And that was his tobacco. And then we had a couple other guys. We had a couple of folks that smoked aromatics, a couple of folks smoked English tobaccos. But yeah, I could tell you which professors smoked pipes, even though this was going back to the 80s now. And the funny thing was I'd sort of put the pipes aside for a while, didn't smoke much for a few years. And then my best friend, during a trip up north, gave me a gift certificate to a local smoke shop. And that just got me started all over again. And was looking up an article online about Sheridan pipes and saw that the source for the article was somebody who was in the Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club of Boston. So I was like, oh, someplace I can go and hang out and smoke once in a while. And this is probably going back about 12 years now. And I met Tim and a number of other folks from the club. And still a member, still go to every meeting.
That's a great story. I like Tom. Great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the pipe my grandma gave me.
And I just want to pop in here for a second and acknowledge some of the comments that are coming through from the people watching online. I don't think that us in the Zoom room are experiencing this. It looks like a pretty solid stream, but those of you who are watching over there online and saying that the stream is a bit choppy. I know that, and I think it has to do with um, the internet connection that I have out here in the smoking room. Um, for those of you who don't know, I just recently moved, and we have not yet set up the fantastic computer setup and hardwiring that we used to have in the old studio. So bear with us, and when the green light goes on, we'll be better streaming. Or, and here's a thought: you could come into the Zoom room. Just saying. We always put the links in some posts on the Facebook groups where, and for those of you who don't know, I don't ever put the link onto YouTube because we wind up getting visited by the Pornhub crew, which is fun for about 30 seconds and then it's boring. But even if you're not a big Facebook fan, hop over there, go to VPC Live group or Pipes Magazine group, and click on the link and come on into the Zoom room where we'll get a little bit better stream, and we'll see you there. David, would you let us know who's next?
Yes, sir. Fadi was waiting forever, so he can be next.
Thank you, my friend. It's no problem. Well, I don't know if you know it, I'm French educated and very influenced by the French culture. So I started 4 years ago this passion, I would call it a passion, with a French actor whose name is Bernard Blier, and a French Belgium writer whose name is Simonon, Georges Simonon, who wrote the police series with Maigret, the detective Maigret, who was a pipe smoker, and his character, his main character, Maigret, was a pipe smoker also. But honestly, it has never crossed my mind that I would be a pipe smoker until 4 years ago when I decided to smoke cigarettes less. And then because I started to hate cigarettes. And so I was a cigar smoker, and I loved cigars. But I thought that cigar was very expensive, and it's a very momentous pleasure. For in 2 hours' time, it disappears. And I appreciated the moment. And then I discovered the pipe word, and I found that pipe is not really an object, it's a piece of art. And there is this link between the smoker and his pipe. And then, so I wanted to try it, and I bought my first pipe. It was a People of Big Ben from a French seller online. And I started reading about it because I knew that if you don't have enough knowledge about it, you will not appreciate it. So I started reading about it, articles, and watching videos, Mutton Chop Piper, of course, and others. And I started well, in a right way, following exactly what these videos and these articles say. And I found it was like love from first sight, at first sight. And till now, I cannot explain the intensity of this passion or why I'm so at ease when I smoke my pipe. So that's it. It's a love story, I think. Thank you.
You say you're French educated. Does that mean that you studied in France?
So Lebanon is a here in Lebanon, French is like the first non-official language. Our first official language is Arabic, but French is it's the education language at schools and at the universities. And while people speak Arabic, but among them, Lebanese Arabic, but I'm very influenced by the education I had because I went to French schools. So yes, it is my second mother tongue, if you like. My first.
To ask if any of your French professors smoked pipes.
No, no one. My father had a pipe. In Orient, in the Eastern and Middle East, people usually smoke shisha, which is I think hubbly bubbly in English, or shisha. So it's the long tube with the tobacco, and you put some cloves on it. So it's shisha, and
a hookah.
Hookah.
Yes. Hookah. Yes, it's hookah. It's hookah here. It's the main thing. But pipe is not very common here. My father had a pipe. I think he used it just for fun, and I had it in front of me all of my childhood, and then it disappeared. So I have this memory of a pipe. So I know that there are people who smoke pipes. I didn't pay any further attention to that until I discovered it by curiosity 4 years ago. And suddenly it is my passion, my strongest passion till now. But in the French culture, there are lots of characters in literature which smoke pipes, and of course there is Sherlock Holmes and the others, and Lord of the Rings. So I think they gave me also this push to try the pipe smoking.
All right, let's go with Kent.
All right, thank you. I love telling stories, and I'll try to be as short as I can, but that's hard for me. Takes me 30 minutes sometimes to say my name. But pipe smoking goes back in our family a while. And I didn't hear this story until my father was within months of his death. And because we were cleaning out the attic in one house, I was about 13 years old, and I ran across a pipe. And I brought it down with me and asked Dad about it. And he said, well, that's one I had in college when I wanted to look older. And yeah, I just don't do it anymore. I just really didn't like the taste and the smell. So, well, I just filed that away until later. That will come up again in my shortened long story. I had an uncle, one of my mother's sisters, husband, an uncle, who smoked almost exclusively leather-clad pipes. And I can't tell you what he smoked in them, but it smelled good to me. I liked the whole process. So at reunions, I kind of hung around him. And then when I got into high school, my high school biology professors, both of them, were pipe smokers. John Carlock would have something like this and hanging out of his mouth a lot of the time. And of course, he had a beard. Harold A. Moore would have longer than this Danish in his mouth most of the time, although he had quite a variety of pipes. I was drawn to two things when I was growing up: writing and biology. Jacques Cousteau smoked a pipe. I was interested in marine biology and have eventually went that direction. And I read C.S. Lewis when I was, I don't know, 10 years old, something like that. And I fashioned myself something of a writer and a researcher. It turned out sort of like that, but only sort of. And so when I got to high school, I got a corncob pipe. I enjoyed hiking, and several of the writers who were always also writing books about hiking make sure they make their pipes part of their pack. And so all sort of influences, including Tolkien and so the characters in the book. So it seemed like, because I was drawn to it, surrounded by a pipe culture. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I had my first experience with a brick and mortar tinderbox, and started off with some black Cavendish and an English called Fox and Hounds, and I liked all of those equally. Didn't branch out further more than the Borkham Riff and Captain Black, but their mainline blend, none of which really appealed to me, but their black Cavendish did. And so that was mostly it, just one English and several of black Cavendish. And of course, those other ones bite a little bit. But I started experiencing, different kinds, and because of the brick and mortar. And, it had a great time with pipes all through graduate school. When we started having children, I gave up the pipes for a while, at least, while they were younger. So when they got older, I started into it a little bit. But then when I was diagnosed with a neurological disease, I thought, you know what? Risks are risks, but compared to what I face in the next few years, I think that I would like to have this pleasure back again. And so I went way too wild, trying different blends, and if there is such thing as too wild, and in amassing a pipe collection. But it is an enjoyable hobby for me and lifestyle. And it connects things with my earliest memories through high school, through my professional years, and to this time where I contribute, I hope, in small ways to small society as disease progresses. But it is very calming in those days when I was getting an ulcer. It continues to be calming and comforting. And in this way, since I don't have a way or one close enough to get to a pipe club, this group and other groups on Zoom and Bunch and so on fills that social hole in my experience. And it began for me with an attraction for utilitarian art, and it ended up with a lifestyle which is bigger than it's ever been in any time of my life, and it couldn't be more enjoyable than groups, and especially group like this.
I loved your appreciation of C.S. Lewis. I saw a short video recently of J.R.R. Tolkien packing and lighting and then puffing on his pipe. And I can, they were part of this writers group. I'm sure you know all about it, called the Inklings.
The Inklings. Mm-hmm.
Right? And I can just imagine them kind of like us, sitting around a table at the pub, all with clouds of pipe smoke surrounding their table and copious pints of beer.
Mm-hmm.
Super. Miguel, are you manning the who
Marek
is
is
next?
waiting, David.
Oh, okay. David's back. Let's go with Merrick. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for that interruption. I started in two stages, sort of. I always dreamt about the pipe because of Sherlock Holmes, obviously, and I was fascinated by the Sherlock Holmes books. And I got the first pipe on my 18th birthday from a friend of mine. It was a pear wood pipe, a very cheap one, but nice bent. And but over the years, I misplaced it somewhere when we moved house. I just lost it somewhere. And in the meantime, I smoked some cigarettes up to the 30th year, when I was 30. Gave up because it's an addiction, obviously. And now I'm 44, and I started again by a blind chance, really. I met an American in my city where I live, in Lublin, in Poland, and he was a Christian missionary, actually, and he got me going into the pipe business. He came from Kentucky, and he started on, and before I met with him, I wanted to buy some pipes, some tobacco. It's very difficult in Poland. We have only around on the market over internet. You can buy 50 tobaccos, and decent ones. It's only 15 out of 50. The rest of it is total Alsbo or whatever you have. I started collecting those tobaccos and pipes. And when he visited me, I already had around 10 pipes or so, and choice of tobaccos, and started really buying them via contraband only because because you can't do it legally, good tobacco really. And we sat on my veranda and had Kentucky. Really, it was really amphora Kentucky then, but we enjoyed that very, very much. And I signed up to one of the forums in Poland and started searching Facebook. I found people in Lublin where I live. There are 8 of us only. And we meet on a regular basis, probably around every fortnight or so. And that's it, really. That's my story.
Your missionary friend, did he introduce you to some new aspects of smoking a pipe? Did he?
No, he just triggered in me the pipe interest once again, let's say. But before we smoked together, it passed like 2 or 3 months before he visited my house and came to my house, really. And I learned all sort of, let's say, by myself from the internet, mostly from mutton and chop piper and the matches and searching Polish forums. There are around 3,000 Polish pipe smokers on Facebook. but when we meet every Sunday at 8 o'clock, there are around 15, 20 people maximum, really, out of 3,000 that you know on Zoom, and you can imagine. But we have a king of pipe in Poland, and currently is Maciej Maciejewski, third year in a row. We have a Przemysl city where the most of artisans live, and it's called pipe smoking capital of Poland. This is a southern Poland, nice city, and the pipe day, obviously, last weekend of June, and yeah, it's for me a lifestyle now, and I love it. You know, I love collecting new tobaccos, and you know.
Do you own any of the pipes from the artisans in Poland?
Oh yeah, probably half of my collection is Polish pipes, but very beautiful ones. The best one for me is Worobiec and Poliński. I don't know if you've heard those names before. You know, the very good briar, and you know, they beautiful. They provide beautiful finish to the pipe.
We'd love to
nice
see
silver
some
rings and so on. You know.
If you next time, maybe next week, love to have you bring some and show them and introduce us to some new.
Let me just have a look into my phone, because I'm a nurse, and I do work on night shifts. I'm not sure if I'm available next week. Let me just have a look. Yeah,
Well,
I'll be here. I'll be
Okay,
here.
well,
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
if you don't mind. We'd love to see some representations
Polish
from
pipes.
Polish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
I think
Fantastic.
in Poland you have in Poland Dr. Pearl. Don't you?
No, that's a German one. Fauen, German. No. Dr. Perl
Cohen
is
is German.
yeah, it's German. Yeah.
I think you have
name.
Dr. Brog also.
There is a
Mr.
Polish
Brog.
pipe maker.
The best ones that I've told you is
with the name-
Poliński and Worobiec, and
it
the very
starts with
popular in
doctor.
America is Brook, Mr. Brook, Mr. Brock. I don't know how you pronounce
Yes,
it.
Mr.
in
Brook.
America.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Then
Mr. Brook, yes. Mr. Brook in Polish, yes.
He's the biggest Polish pipe maker, but not the best one. You know, he just does.
Okay.
Very nice man. I've met him. Very nice, very charismatic. But he does numbers, not the quality.
See, that's exactly what we want to find out about. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, let me break in with the my typical announcement about this time of our day, and that is that we're getting close to the end of our meeting for this week. Not yet, so don't run off, right? We've still got about 15 minutes or so, which is plenty of time to hear more stories and whatnot. So here's a couple of things to announce. We're working on some brand new speakers for our guest speaker lineup. Two of the people that I've had a chance to talk with this week are Chris Kelly, who we've been talking about. Alvin's got his. I've got him hooked. I think got the bug bit him for Chris Kelly pipes.
That would be a
and
great gift.
So he's going to come back. In fact, I'm talking to him tomorrow, so I should know soon what the date of his visit is. And also Eddie Gray from the Pipe Nook. Those of you who are on the YTPC over the past year or so, Pipe Nook has had its challenges, but it's back again, got a new website. And it's going to be interesting to hear his story about being a small business owner in the pipe world and how he's carrying on through. So those are two of the people who are coming up soon. And a lot more along the way. David Martinez Ruiz is helping me with another gentleman who is going to be on soon. And so stay tuned. If you haven't yet joined something, like subscribe to the YouTube channel or come over to the Virtual Pipe Club on Facebook and joined in, That's how you'll know what's coming, the saying. So you know how to do that. Anyway, David, let me kick it back to you to get at least one or two more
A few
people.
people I think they're left is Steve, Thomas Bowes, Ian, I believe, and Michael Schroeder.
You get to pick one.
I guess Steve is the first one I mentioned on my list.
Which Steve? I think we have a couple, David.
Sorry, you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Happy to
bad.
share. Happy
My
to
bad.
share.
I
and I'll
think the
try
other
to-
ones already talked.
Gotcha.
But
I'll try to do it quickly, maybe so other folks can have a chance too.
I don't see any other Steve today, but
I guess my relationship with tobacco and nicotine goes way back to my teen years, actually, which generally at that point was chewing tobacco. I had a grandfather who had been a smoker previously in his life, but had quit by then. Now my dad was a heavy smoker his entire life, but anyway, I kind of discovered tobacco and nicotine, and mom and grandma were never too happy that grandpa kind of turned some of us grandboys onto that. But then in the early 90s, I got into discovered cigars, and from that point on, was not a daily, but an occasional cigar smoker. Still am to this day. Enjoy a good cigar. Probably somewhere along about 2009 or 10, a good friend of mine, who's still a good friend of mine to this day, who I was in a band with at the time, who smoked a pipe, kind of asked questions about some of the tobacco. He purchased me, being the good friend that he is, a Dr. Grabeau Golden Duke saddle bit billiard and a couple ounces of Lane 1Q. I enjoyed the flavor of the 1Q. I found that after a while, I got turned off a bit from it because I'd wake up the next morning with just the foulest taste in my mouth. It just seemed to not age well overnight. So I smoked it off and on for probably, I don't remember, 5 or 6 months, and then kind of put it aside and kind of forgot about it a little bit. Jump ahead maybe a year or two. I was at a local brick and mortar who's still in business today. Probably went in to get some cigars, check out the humidor, and noticed that he also sold some pipe tobacco. And I was kind of perusing what he had, and it just triggered the thought in my mind that I haven't smoked that pipe that Donnie got me in a long time. And he had I asked him what he recommended at the time. He said, "Hey, try this tin of Marlin." He had some Rattray's Marlin Flake. So I purchased that tin and went home and was just immediately kind of blown away by it, to be honest, because all I'd ever had prior to that was 1Q, and maybe I'd had some Captain Black Cherry or something, I don't recall. But so that opened my eyes. And from there, I discovered YTPC, and began following some recommendations there. I think I reached out maybe next and got some more like Golden Slice and whatever else. But clearly I was going down the path. When I discovered the breadth of tobaccos, non-aromatic tobaccos that were out there, it just opened my eyes, and kind of been heavily into it ever since, and enjoying it immensely. So that's my story.
I guess Michael, you can go next.
Well, I got into pipe smoking in a very circuitous way in the 80s, actually 1980 to be exact. My parents were both cigarette smokers, and at that time, I don't know if you guys remember, but that was when people were starting to talk about, well, how bad cigarette smoking was for you. And I was 18, and I thought, well, I'm going to teach my parents not to smoke cigarettes. Telling them not to smoke or asking them not to smoke didn't work. So I thought, well, I'm going to show them what it's like when somebody really stinks up the house. So I went and bought a pipe and some of the stinkiest tobacco I could find. And I started puffing in the house while they were smoking cigarettes, trying to smoke them out. what actually came out of that was me learning or wanting to smoke a pipe. Now, it took me quite a few years to actually learn how to smoke a pipe, but I discovered the tinder boxes, which were very big in those days. They pretty much wasn't a mall around that didn't have one. So I ended up getting hooked into pipes. I was always into reading, so Tom Sawyer and all those books. So I was very into Mark Twain and that kind of stuff. So it just kind of built from there. And through college, I started discovering pipe shops that were around. I lived in Maryland, and there were several at the time. One being Faders, which was one of the older pipe stores, pipe and tobacco. And over time, I just, really got hooked into it, and would hang out on a Saturday pretty much every week at Faders. And there were other tobacco stores like Georgetown Tobacco in DC where I would go periodically. And from there, we are where I am now with, a relatively large selection of tobaccos and many, many pipes. I won't go into details on that because I don't really like to embarrass myself.
You probably know Mark Johnson from the Georgetown. He used to work there for a while he was taking his PhD.
Not by name, but probably by face.
Okay. All right, who's next? Ian, have you said anything yet?
No, I haven't. First, I wanted to tell Fardy. Apparently, George Simenon was also an influence on me. Apparently, he performed the 1-2 buckle my shoe on about 10,000 different birds, which is no mean feat, I have to say. Yeah, I started smoking when I did English Civil War reenactment with a clay pipe when I was 16, but it didn't really stick with me. And a few years later, I went to Germany, smoked a pipe, and of course he was an influence on me because he was a pretty cool person in many ways beyond just his ability to do impossible feats with martial arts, to say the least. And that's really where it got started. Of course, I did the same as everyone else, looked at YouTube. And I have to say, when I joined the Virtual Pipe Club and others during lockdown, it's been a bit of a godsend because it's improved all sorts of things about my pipe smoking, I have to say. Furthermore, I've learned, for example, I now mainly smoke flakes because I never smoked a flake until I learned about it from, I think, Simon Bosco. And that made a great deal of difference to me, actually, because they smoke for a long, long time. Although I have at the moment changed to Samuel Gowith's grouse, which a mate of mine who lives in Scotland sent me, rather nice of him. And that's really how I got into it. And I've been in the Pipe Club of London since Pontius was a pilot, really. In fact, when I went along, I hadn't been for a couple of years, no, all new people. And luckily the vice chairman remembered me because I announced that I was an honorary life member and they said, there ain't no such animal. And to me, I had a card. So anyway, he went back and the secretary went back and had a look on his list and said, oh yeah, we actually have got two. The other one was my wife because I started the magazine and she translated it in German for a couple of years. So I don't feel guilty about being an honorary life member and not paying because, I think the membership tripled once we started bringing out a decent magazine. So I've tried to put in as well as taking out. I've found the best people do tend to be pipe smokers. My great-grandfather on the Spear side, he smoked a pipe. I know that he was on the old sailing ships and he had a Hampshire dialect, which, well, I think Americans might make more sense out of it than a lot of people over here would, because, just out of interest, when you hear some Americans say axe instead of ask, and that's absolutely pure Hampshire. So you've got to remember that the people who went, the very early colonials, came from along that south coast where Hampshire is. So of course they spoke like that, and Americans picked it up, I guess, and we've lost it over the years. In fact, I don't know anyone who has that dialect anymore except my parents, which is a bit of a shame. But there you go. It's the television and the radio leads to that. I guess a lot of this smoking has to do with, I'm also very interested, I mean, you wouldn't see it from how I'm dressed here, but I'm a bit of what we call an anarcho-dandyist, which means dressing up finally with a waistcoat and an Albert, which is a pocket watch, and a whistle, which is a suit. I have to translate some of this London slang for you. And pipe smoking goes along with that. Actually, just quickly out of interest, once a year, the Chaps, which is, if you look it up online, you'll find a lot of them do pipe smoking, magazine called the Chaps, and they have this Olympics in the London Park every year. And they're great fun. They do things like the what do you call cucumber sandwich discus. And the idea is not how far you can throw it, but how elegantly you can throw it. And it's a great hoot. I mean, last time I went, there was quite a famous announcer with one of these BBC, I don't have that, one of these BBC English voices, you know, especially back in the day, like Winston Churchill spoke, who, by the way, if you hear Alistair Crowley and you hear, if you know who he is, and you hear Winston Churchill, you can't tell them apart the way they speak, which is interesting. Probably went to the same school. And he said, "I'm sorry, lads, I have to announce a young lady has won," which was sort of typical English joke, I suppose, that a lady had defeated all these men. The other thing they do is a lady, you have to insult a lady in an inventive way without being vulgar, and then you get a slap round the mush, and they judge the lady on how well she does the slap. Anyway, I've said enough about that. That's my story, how I got into pipe smoking.
All right, can we have Ian as a speaker? Does anyone else want to have Ian as a speaker?
Yeah, I do too. I do. I would say, Ian, I think I have found my next new hobby: cucumber sandwich tossing. I'll let you guys know next week how I've done with that. Well, I know that.
By the way, I think Crowley got.
I know that
Alistair Crowley got a lot of practice getting slapped.
I know that we've got.
I think we got a couple left, like Patrick. Patrick, have you spoken yet?
We're gonna take one more, and then we're gonna wrap it up for the day, because there's always
Patrick or Thomas both.
So, as you may have heard from other speakers, it's always good to leave people wanting a little bit more, right? At least I tell my wife that all the time. So we'll do one more, and then we'll save it for next week. Patrick, you want to take it away, my brother? You're the cleanup batter.
Sure. Okay. I actually started out back in the 90s as a cigar smoker and ran into a buddy of mine who's no longer alive. And he was a combo pipe and cigar smoker. So he invited me to one of the meetings of the New York Pipe Club. And from there, that's where I started smoking pipes, you know, and I've been in the hobby since then. So that's my story. He was a very large character whose ancestry was Finnish. So his last name was Pelikonen. So he used to smoke a lot of the larger pipes, the Sharatons and pipes of that nature. And, you know, he was the person who got me in. And then members of the pipe club, as I've been over the years, have shown me more about pipes, and I've been gifted pipes from some of them. So it's, you know, it's been an interesting journey.
David, I just don't want to be rude, but I think Thomas is the only one left.
I can be. I know, DDR. I know you want to bring the curtain down. I'll be very brief. I was inspired about 30 years after the fact by an old friend of my parents, who was a colleague of my father's, a professor. named Jack. And Jack told me he was a big pipe and cigar smoker. And he said, you know, when you get older, you will only have three things left in life: books, booze, and baccy. And this advice came back to me about 2 years ago when I took up the pipe again after about a 30-year hiatus. And I have to admit, all three have been my principal means of comfort the last 2 years. So it's just a lingering thing stuck in my brain from long ago. But he definitely was an inspiration.
Did you say broads, booze, and baccy? Is that?
No, certainly earlier in life, yeah, but no, he said books, booze, and baccy, because his theory was by the time you get to be a certain age, the broads have probably fallen away as a subject of interest.
Maybe that'll be the subject of our next week's conversation. Thank you, Thomas, and thanks for your patience also. I love this group. I really do. I know I say this every week, but in different ways. I'm inspired by all of you gentlemen and the ladies who come in. I know we have ladies who are watching the live streams and make comments on it and come in to the Zoom room occasionally, and we wish you would come in more often. It's not a boys' club; it's an international pipe smoking club. I learned a lot today, and I really am grateful for the sharing that you guys have done today. So thank you, David. Thank you for helping me out with the monitoring of everything and getting everybody a chance to speak. Again, next week.
I just want to say one thing before we cut off. I know Marek and probably Tim and many other people from the Sherlock Holmes Club, like Tom. By luck, I was like waiting at the supermarket this week, and I found the Times magazine. It's having a complete full magazine about Sherlock Holmes. If you guys are interested in buying it, FYI.
Thank you, David.
Excuse me, guys, I'm curious. Maybe next time, Oliver. Miguel's story. He didn't say anything, Miguel.
He kind of slipped out on that.
He has one of the few pipes.
I will try and share it on Facebook. Go ahead, buddy.
Please, I'm curious to know.
I can tell you, Fadi, every time he gets a new bottle of whiskey or bourbon, he gets a free Savinelli with a piece of tobacco.
No, I will try. I'll actually post it on our website. I just want everybody to have a chance, especially the reason why I actually asked Glenn if it is possible for me to pass it to John. About a month ago, I actually posted on our Facebook about the experience that people in this club that's been smoking for more than 50 years. There's a lot of members in here that me, myself, and other people will not be able to experience. I don't know, John, if you remember, I posted it. What is your experience when you go to the tobacconist 50 years ago, 40 years ago? Because those are the things that I will never experience. So what I normally do, my experience, I will post it. Again, Paddy, I appreciate it. I will post it on our website, but I just want everybody to have a chance to speak. And I have to let you know, everybody on this club that has been smoking for more than 40, 50 years. There are things that you guys experience. That is the reason why it's very educational for all the members. And this habit that we have, the way I look at this, is oral tradition. Because you guys will pass it to the next generation, to the next generation. That is the reason why when I asked Glenn, is it possible for me to pass it to John? But I will post it. And Paddy, I do appreciate you asking me. Thank you so much.
Backy and booze all day.
I will. I will. I will post it. Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are amazing.
Everyone, enjoy the story.
You guys are amazing.
Enjoy the story.
Thank you.
Next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Take care, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye. See you next week.
Bye.